All right.
Hey, pal.
What's up, Chris? How you doing?
I ah seen better days, my friend. Better days.
I'm sure you have. I can definitely relate.
Yeah. I just did a spaces and got some anger out on that because I was like, if I do anything else, like I was about to drop an IG live, and I'm like, it's kind of late, and might just do this tomorrow when a clear head prevails. But yeah, man, it's same stuff, different year. It's becoming too predictable now. And we are in a what have you done for me lately? I don't want to hear any excuses about who was hurt. You got to go out there and you got to play. We could make all the excuses you want, but in the end, you got to go out there and play. I remember Walker Buehler delivered a great game 5 in the divisional series loss to the Nats after his aunt died that same week. Did he make any excuses? No, he left it all out there and he gave his team a chance to win. What's these bums' excuse? Thank you. Next question, please.
All right. Well, people are starting to tune in, and I'm going to hit the record button. So we'll take it from the top. Jake's going to join us in a bit, and David no showed like the Dodgers. I guess I don't think he's joining.
Yeah.
Oh man, what's up, Dodger fans? Thank you for listening to the final episode of the Incline Dodgers 2023 season, where the Los Angeles Dodgers pulled a Casper the Ghost and no showed and got swept by the 84-win Arizona Diamondbacks team. So I guess I'm the a-hole who thought that the Dodgers were going to sweep the Arizona Diamondbacks, and the complete opposite happened. The Arizona Diamondbacks swept the Los Angeles Dodgers. 100-win season, all for nothing. Just like last season, 111-win season, all for nothing. Both to NL West wildcard foes to make matters even worse. I am going to steam in just a few minutes, but before I do all that, want to say we are presented by FanSided. This is Kevin Klein speaking. Thank you guys. I want to thank everyone for following the Dodgers and us all season long. Right now, I'm joined by Chris Camello, who's filling in. Jake Riner will join us in a little bit. Chris, I know you're not doing well, but I still got to ask, how you doing and what's on your mind?
Well, on the plus side, the Lakers won a preseason game. Just a little humor. No, I have, it's like a comedian. You use comedy or humor to mask the misery and the disappointment and the depression that surrounds your life. And that's what I'm trying to do right now. I can't say I'm surprised because this team has made us, I want to say, indifferent to losing in October in a lot of ways. They've made it they've set a new standard every year. They find different ways to lose games. They did not pitch well in this series at all. Their bullpen was fantastic, but their starters were absolutely atrocious, and I think that's putting it kindly. Whether it be because of injury, inexperience, or you are allergic to not throwing home runs in the case of Lance Lynn. Their offense, Freddie, Freeman, and Mookie Betts. I mean, if you wanted to go 1 for 21, you should have just had Miguel Vargas and Michael Busch at the top of your lineup. So they were very disappointing, and to be quite honest, I think they deserve the lion's share of the blame. Questionable decision-making by Dave Roberts, but I don't know if everything is his fault. I know you and I will probably have some different disagreements on that. But really, Kev, it's the mentality. And October baseball is different. And that's the catch-22 of this whole thing. It's like, well, why would you change what got you there and what led you to become a 100-win team? Great point. But you do got to tweak something. And if it's not going to tweak your approach, it's got to be your mentality. And when you see teams like Houston meet the moment, beating a wild card caliber team, yet again, going to their 7th straight LCS, I know that's hard to stomach. you have to look at the mentality because the talent's there, Kev, right? The talent's really mostly there. Yeah, there were injuries to the pitching staff, but they had enough talent to score more than 6 runs over 3 games. So that's where we're at right now. And that's a big reason why they lost in this series. They got outpowered. They got out executed. They got out small balled. They got out starting pitched. They got out managed, and they got outclassed by a divisional team who really only got in because the Cubs and the Reds and the Padres and the Giants really fell off the final weeks of September a little bit more than they did. So they snuck in, and they deserve to go where they're going, man. Shout out to Torey Lovello. Shout out to that organization. They met the moment, and they deserve to be there.
Man, I mean, the most glaring stat is the fact that Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman went 1 for 21 in the NLDS. I wish we could rescind any MVP votes that they got. I guess that's what makes them most valuable players, because when they actually do something, they add value to the team, because the Dodgers are going nowhere when these guys can't produce shit. I mean, what the hell is with this report that Freddie Freeman has lost his swing for 5 weeks? Where was that entering the postseason? Mookie Betts, what did he go? 0 for 11 in the entire NLDS? 0 for 10, 0 for 11.
And was only safe on an error in game 2.
You see this notepad? Fucking done. I was the biggest Mookie Betts fan there was, and I'm turning a corner. This guy is soft as a Casper pillow. He's going to probably record a podcast tomorrow where he's talking about bowling and pretends like the postseason never happened. Even his post-game press conferences tonight were pretty weak, in my opinion. I lost the games for us. I didn't show up. Yeah, no shit, Mookie. Do something about it. This is the second consecutive postseason series in a row where you absolutely no-showed and you cost us the series. You are the leadoff hitter. Like Ivy is saying, I can't believe a 5'9" guy got $365 million. The height is irrelevant to me, but if you're going to pay this guy $365 million for the lifetime of his contract, you got to do more than have no hits in a freaking postseason series. Kobe Bryant would have never allowed this to happen. If Kobe Bryant was a baseball player, he would have died to get at least one hit possible. Mookie Betts is just swinging for the fences, little lazy pop-ups. And this is just, I want a word vomit. Like, this is the worst postseason outing I have ever seen by a single Dodgers player. Congratulations, Mookie Betts. 2 seasons in a row, you've let us down.
Yeah, absolutely. All this, and I know, once again, I know where you're at with Roberts, but was Dave Roberts the one in the batter's box? Was Dave Roberts the one on the mound? Was Dave Roberts the one that was bobbling ground balls at third base? No, it wasn't. So as much as we may want to blame him for not having his team prepared, at the end of the day, there's an old saying, players win and coaches lose. But I think that's BS, and that's a BS cop-out. You deserve responsibility. You want to make the big money. You want to be the star of LA. This is what comes with it. Because every one of the LA greats, I don't care. You mentioned Kobe Bryant. People threw darts at him in 97 and 98 and 99 and in 2008. He took those licks by the media. Kareem took those licks in 84 and in game 1, the Memorial Day Massacre in 85. Magic, tragic magic. And what did they do? Do you think they took that lying down? No. There was the I'll show you. And Mookie now has to eat it. And maybe this is good for him, because I think in LA, as much as I love Mookie, he's a sensational talent. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. I think he's a good guy, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Maybe that's the problem. I wish there was a little bit more sand in that craw. There isn't. He's not doing what Bryce Harper is doing right now in Philadelphia. That is the problem. And Kev, what is that? It's not talent. Bryce is not exactly more talented than Mookie. What does he have? Anyone? Oh, he's got a killer mentality. He's got intensity. Where the hell was it? These guys, him and Freddie, where was their intensity at? It was vacant, bro. That's what really upsets me. There was no clap back. No, I'll show you. And say what you want about guys like Carlos Correa or Trevor Bauer, any of these guys. That mentality, that a-hole arrogant mentality plays in October, Kev. It plays, and you know it does.
Pretty sure Bryce Harper has more RBIs than the Dodgers scored in their entire 3 games this postseason.
That is correct.
What do we put up? A measly 6 runs total?
Bryce almost
2 runs a game.
I was just about to say, Bryce hit 2 home runs, right? In game 3 between the Phillies and the Braves. 4 RBIs in game 3 on Wednesday afternoon, 6 RBIs for the Dodgers total in 3 games. That is pathetic.
Yeah, we have 1 home run. Was it just JD Martinez's solo shot?
Oppo, yeah.
Power just was non-existent. And the one guy that got a lot of criticism and people wanted to trade him because he had a bad game was Will Smith. Well, guess what? Will Smith was actually the only Dodger besides Kike Hernandez. We'll get into more Kike in a minute, but Will Smith as a starter was truly the only guy who actually showed up. He went 5 for 12 with 2 RBIs, hit 417 with 1,084 OPS, and people want to trade him.
Yeah.
How are you going to trade Will Smith after Cartaya has been a no-show? He's hitting under 200 in the minors. Right. Dalton Rushing is awesome, but guess what? He's only reached level A. You can't expect a guy to go from level A to Major League Baseball that quick.
Unless your name is Evan Carter.
Will Smith is one guy that I think's got to stay, but there are some other guys that I'm ready to say, blow it up. And I think one of those guys who was really disappointing this October and made a couple bobbles today is Max Muncy. Max Muncy didn't do anything this postseason. He's been a liability all season long, defensively at third. They got to make a culture shift somewhere. They got to move somebody out here. David Peralta, you can kick his ass. He's a free agent. Goodbye. Jason Hayward, I'm willing to bring back because I think he actually has heart. Kike Hernandez, who was also one of the only few Dodgers who showed up in this postseason, you got to re-sign him as well. I don't think Kike is going to have to demand being a starter this go around, but this guy actually shows up in the postseason. I think he went 3 for 7, maybe 3 for 8. And then Chris Taylor, you want to talk about haunting moments? Let me know in the chat if you agree. That home run that flyout that Chris Taylor hit to dead center, which would have tied the game. I believe that was in the top of the 8th, maybe top of the 7th, 407 feet. That would have been a home run at Dodger Stadium. Chris Taylor, despite not really having the numbers to show for it, he actually showed up in this series as well. So I'm willing to bring back CT3. It's a damn shame that he didn't start in the first place over David Peralta. I thought that was a head scratcher. It was another head scratcher to me that Dave Roberts chose to pinch hit Austin Barnes in a crucial situation with runners in scoring position with 2 outs. Did you not learn from last year, asshole, when you put in Austin Barnes against Josh Hader? How'd that one work out? Austin Barnes hasn't done shit all season, and that's the guy you want to go to with your season in the balance, not James Outman, who decided to just kick to the corner, even though, yeah, he had a bad game too. But I'm putting James Outman in a crucial spot over Austin Barnes any day of the week. I do not care if it was a lefty. You go with James Outman. You do not go with Austin Barnes. That is on par with the Colton Wong pitch hitting situation in the previous game. Dave Roberts had a good series overall, but a couple of these pinch hitting situations, one, it speaks to me that this Dodgers bench was once again fraudulent, not as deep as we were hoping. And 2, I just don't understand the logic here. Like Lucas and Sadie Show is saying, Outman hit lefties pretty well this season, but no, you want to go with the wimp, the backup catcher, Austin Barnes, instantly grounds out to the right side, ends the innings, kills the rally. Just stupid.
Yeah. The Austin Barnes, I think he made 2 blunders that were pretty obvious. One was pinch hitting for Rojas in game 2 with Colton Wong called off the bench. And the Austin Barnes versus Andrew Saalfrank, that was Austin Barnes hadn't had a single at bat all series long. So, yeah, I mean, that's just, what are you doing in that moment? You got to trust a guy like Peralta because he could come through. He had been able to hit lefties in the past. And another thing, Kev, a little bit of a side note, and I'm tired, and I think this applies, I hate to say this to you and your show as well, and to all sports media analysts, myself included. I will take responsibility. Stop looking at regular season matchups as a blueprint for why you won't be successful in October. It is a different animal. Let's stop doing it. And if we are going to continue to do it, let's follow it up with whatever the stat is. Merrill Kelly's 0 for 11 at Dodger Stadium on his birthday all time, whatever BS stat that Vassay comes up with, and follow it up with, but it is October. It's a new season, so we shall see. I want to hear more of that instead of just banking on regular season success. Dodgers won 14 out of 19 against the Padres last year. How'd that go for them? This year they won eight out of 13. Exactly. 8 out of 13 against the Snakes. How did that work for them? Thank you. Next question, please. So stop doing that. It's a shallow effing argument, bro.
Yeah. Speaking of questions, want to thank everyone who's watching live right now on YouTube. Feel free to ask questions in the chat below. We are waiting for Jake Riner. He is on his way, and we'll get his thoughts on things as well. There were a couple of comments that I did want to read. First off, Jason Castillo bringing up a great point. Need to change the organizational culture. So we're going to get into that in just a second.
Need more bad guys.
He also followed up, get me an angry, cranky manager that is not a slave to the state. Maria G, sign guys that want to be here. Absolutely. Yeah. Ryan saying, if you want to go a different direction, Dodgers aren't trading Betts or Freeman. Going to have to look at Will and or Max if you want to shake things up. Max Muncy's looking like the odd man out at this point. But yeah, it's time's up. We got to do something.
Yeah.
I am hoping that there is a press conference. No, I don't even need a press conference. Give me a press release saying that the Dodgers and Dave Roberts have parted ways. It's time. Choke after choke after choke. It doesn't matter who's on the roster. They changed the players. It's the same outcome. We had an NLCS exit, an NLDS exit, and an NLDS exit sweep since winning the 2020 World Series. And don't forget what happened in 2019. He also lost in the NLDS as well. So what is that? 3 out of the last 5 seasons we've lost in the NLDS despite winning over 100 games.
Mm-hmm.
No other manager would survive this. Is it because Andrew Freeman views Dave Roberts as a yes man puppet? Is he a dummy? Is this guy on strings? Is he easy to manipulate? Is the front office really just pushing all the buttons here? And Dave Roberts is the fall guy? I don't know. Well, but clearly Dave Roberts isn't motivating these guys. He's not the X factor whatsoever at all when it comes to postseason management. And this is probably his best postseason performance outside of 2020. And they still lost.
Well, I understand what you're saying. I do think Dave brings the positive clubhouse culture. Remember,
I don't give a shit.
Okay, well
I'll let you continue.
There's 2 aspects to being a successful head coach, right? A lot of time, or manager, or whatever, right? One is you're great with X's and O's. You're a great tactician. The other is you know how to manage personalities. You know how to get the best out of guys. You know which buttons to press. Very few do both. Pat Riley, Phil Jackson, Bill Belichick, not lately, but through the years, Red Auerbach, even Steve Kerr has done a really good job of that. As far as baseball goes, Bruce Bochy, Joe Torre, Sparky Anderson back in the day, La Russa, even, you know what, even Dusty Baker. Dusty has done an outstanding job.
I would take him over Dave Roberts.
Oh, yeah. It's funny. People were ready to keep him in retirement. I'm the only one who's been saying for years, Dusty Baker, never mind the World Series. This guy knows how to manage his ass off and get the best out of guys each time around while also holding them accountable. Where Dave struggles isn't the clubhouse culture, isn't getting the best out of guys. It's the tactician aspect of it. And even in this era of analytics, and you got all these bench coaches and everyone like Bob Guerin and Danny Lehman and Mark Pryor all around you and stuff, you still have to know which buttons to push. And for whatever reason, with the lack of a killer mentality from the players really at the top of your lineup, as well as questionable in-game decision-making, that is how you lose in October and failing to meet the moment. That is a big aspect of it. And maybe it wasn't felt as much this year, but it's definitely been felt in a lot of the other failures in the Dave Roberts era.
Merrick Lamb calling me out. How's that 3-0 prediction looking, Kevin?
Oh,
and that prediction that they would still win after going down 0-2? That's right. I'm the asshole who got it wrong. Oh, well. So be it. I absolutely own it. They let Brandon Pfaadt in his 5.5 ERA dick him down tonight. They had no life. I just don't know what to say.
5.5 in the regular season, brother. This is
And
the
postseason.
playoffs.
Oh, he was bad in the postseason too. He went 2 2/3 innings against Milwaukee. They had to
he gave
pull
up
him.
3 runs. Yeah. Okay, my fault. I forgot he pitched game 1. Okay, so that was a postseason ERA. Okay, mea culpa. I got
both
you.
of them, yes.
Yeah.
Well, he's very bad until they face the Dodgers. So go freaking figure. But I also want to call out the hitting coaching staff led by Robert Van Scoyoc. It's time to fire their asses into the sun. This launch angle approach is great and all in the regular season, but we're seeing it with team after team. It is not a sustainable outcome in the playoffs. How are the Diamondbacks getting on board? Yeah, they teed off on Lance Lynn. I'll get on Lance Lynn in a few minutes. But the first 2 games, they were manufacturing runs. It was hard bloopers. It was bunting. It was sack flies. They were creating runs. And what do the Dodgers do out there? They're swinging for the fences time after time. Guys like Mookie Betts, who've just changed their careers into being home run hitters and apparently can't do anything else except hit home runs in the playoffs now, apparently. Max Muncy, just a pure home run guy. James Outman swinging for the fences. This is not a sustainable or the right approach in the playoffs, because guess what? You are facing the best of the best pitchers, where they know how to locate their balls so that they can induce flyouts. I don't know why the Dodgers do the same maddening thing every freaking postseason, where they're too reliant on the home run, and every team knows it. And so that's why they're able to completely shut us down. That is why the Dodgers were pathetic in games 1, 2, and 3 with the offense. I just cannot believe how bad we looked all series long against an Arizona Diamondbacks team that didn't even have the greatest pitching in the world.
No.
Unfreaking believable.
Well, like Bob Costas once said, after the Dodgers got eliminated by the 88-win Braves teams in 2021, it's not about always who you play, but when you play them. But I think we were all burned out with Bob Costas's voice and after how that series went. But honestly, Kev, that's and I know you want to touch on Lance Lynn, but I want to touch on this format because depending on what happens with the Braves the next couple of days, they're down 2-1 and they got thumped today by Harper, Castellanos, and the Fightin' Phils. By the way, shout out to them. That's a team that's built for October. And I've been saying that Braves are a powerhouse, but the Phillies are built for October, and they got no fear of Atlanta, who's also got a battered pitching staff as well. But there is something to be said, because this is 2 years in a row now where where the NL teams are getting smoked by the wild card teams. In the AL, the Houston Astros seem to have it figured out. And last year the Yankees did too. Remember, the Yankees were facing the wild card winner, which were the Guardians, and they beat them, I believe, in 5 games. But this sitting around for 5 days, I thought it was a good thing considering all the injuries that the Dodgers had. You wanted it to get the rest up and set your rotation and everything. But the aspect of cooling down and sitting around, it may work in a sport like basketball, where it's a very physically demanding sport, or football for that matter. Yeah. But in baseball, that really takes the air out of your sails. And while one team is hot and hyped and excited and riding that adrenaline, the other one now has to, it's almost like a grandfather trying to get out of a rocking chair. All right, I'm getting up. And that's been the Dodgers, where they cannot gear up that energy to get rolling again. And in a 5-game series, Kev, your margin for error is razor thin. So that urgency's got to be felt immediately. And you could have all the intra-squad games in the world, but guess what? That's not a good simulation for a real game. I don't care if Russell Westbrook can hit 100 threes from the top of the key. How is he going to
talk about Russell Westbrook?
But I'm making a point here, all right? And please go with me on it. You know where I'm going with it. It doesn't matter what you're doing in the workouts. That's great to stay sharp and everything, but that doesn't simulate the urgency and the atmosphere. And so I don't know how the Dodgers fix that if they're in a similar situation again next year, outside of changing their approach and changing their mentality.
Chris, I hear you out, but I feel like that's just an excuse.
It's not I'm not saying it's an excuse, but for whatever reason, they're not responding to it the way a team like the Astros is responding to it.
Okay, but I let you talk. Now it's my turn. To me, the format, people blaming the format, is just an excuse. Clayton Kershaw was going to go on the same amount of rest no matter what. and he got lit up. He got his ass lit up like a firework. That's not a format issue. The reason I feel like the Dodgers were sluggish in that game was because they were down instantly 9-0. So it's pretty deflating to come right out of the gate. Game 2, I have no idea what went wrong there. But again, Freddie Freeman said he couldn't find his swing for 5 weeks. So how is a 5-day layoff related to, oh, I can't find my swing for 5 weeks? We saw the same thing with Mookie Betts. He didn't have a home run in his last 16 regular season games, 19 regular season games, something like that. We saw him falling off pretty much as well in the month of September. I think the problem might be that these Dodgers play too hard in August, flame out, and then by the time September rolls around, they get into a funk and they can't seem to recover once we get into the postseason. Now, there's something to be said that the 5 days off could mess with timing, but to me, excuses. You already brought up the Astros. They've had no ill consequences of the layoff. Nope. They seem to be fired up and win no problem. So to me, there's one organization, the Dodgers, that are choking year after year. And then there's a franchise that I absolutely despise. A lot of you, Chris probably hates them, or at least at the very doesn't respect them because of what they did in 2017. But I've moved past that. The Astros have built something that is sustainable to win in the postseason. It starts with Dusty Baker, who's been a great leader. But my goodness, Alex Bregman steps up. Kyle Tucker steps up. Yep. Yordan Alvarez, who was once a Dodger, a monster, every single postseason series. And then they get guys like Justin Verlander, who was big game after big game. And then the Framber Valdez and Christian Javier's, they step up. Those are big game pitchers. Urquidy is another guy who throws a wicked changeup, and I'm not seeing that out of the Dodgers. So quick pause here because there's a lot of people watching, and I want to thank every single one of you personally. If you haven't hit that like button, please do so right now so you boost us up. If you want to subscribe, would appreciate that as well. This podcast is brought to you by TickPick because TickPick is the best ticketing website out there. The baseball season is over, so you can't buy Dodgers tickets anymore using TickPick, but there's no service fees at checkout. So if you're excited for basketball season, they have the best killer deals out there. I was looking at concert tickets as well. They continue to beat the StubHubs and Vivid Seats and Ticketmaster, no fees. So yeah, NFL, NBA, TickPick's the best site out there. Download the app today. Let's see what we got going on in the chat. Maria G, JRM, I'm about to unsubscribe from his channel, his podcast. Like, nope, enough of this fraud. She's talking about Mookie Betts because goddamn, Mr. 300 in his bowling is just a no-show every October. Sean, we love it. Frankie Honolus, move on from Roberts and Kershaw. Time to reset. What else we got? Jason Castillo, I can buy Astros tickets. Yes, you can, because they're still alive.
They're them and the Rangers. That's going to be a heck of an ALCS, man. Both teams really match up fairly well, and we'll see who of the injured Rangers pitchers is actually available in that series.
And Michael Hoffer making a good point. Last year, we won the first game after layoff. It was the 3 after that killed us.
Mm-hmm.
Beth Jensen, Roberts is definitely blamed for stupid decisions, but the offense just sucked.
Yeah.
Jake's going to be hopping on in just a minute. So I will wait. I'm going to admit him in actually right now.
Yeah. And also I shared the link to this podcast on my Twitter page. I don't call it X. I call it Twitter.
There he is. Jake Riner has reported for duty. We are live on YouTube. We got 100 people watching. Comments are firing off. We haven't gotten too deep into things yet, Jake, if I'm being honest. It's been a lot of ranting. But because you just hopped on, I want you to set the tone. You bring up one topic you want to just get off your chest right away, and we'll dive into it. A lot of people are hopping in late as well, so you don't have to feel like you're repeating yourself.
I appreciate that. One word, gentlemen. Pathetic. Just pathetic. Just absolutely abhorrent, pathetic, a disgrace. We put a lot of time and energy and sweat watching these games all season long. We thought this team was different. We really thought that this team had a different culture than the last year's team, which kind of had that Hollywood, we don't really care. We're going to win. We're going to win anyway. We've got all these great names and this, this great roster, 111 wins. And then they don't show up in the postseason. And you think, okay, something needs to change here. There's a culture shift that needs to happen. So they get rid of a lot of guys, or they let Trey Turner go. They let Justin Turner go. And they add these other guys, these grit guys, these Miguel Rojas's and Jason Hayward's and David Peralta's. And the way that they were talking about this team when they clinched the division, I thought, this team sounds different. This team sounds different. You've got Miguel Rojas in the clubhouse, Jason Hayward making speeches when they clinched the division. And I thought, those are the voices I want to hear from. Right. Those guys that are not only fighting for playing time, they're fighting for rings. Miguel Rojas doesn't have a ring. Jason Hayward does. And I thought that urgency was going to carry over. Mm-hmm. And it just is the same shit. I don't understand it. I honestly don't get it. I was driving home. I was listening to Dodger Talk, Tim Cates. I couldn't believe it. Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman, a combined 1 for 21. What the hell?
Yeah.
How does that happen? We said it 1,000 times. This team's not going to have any success in the postseason if they don't get any production from those guys. It's a disgrace, an absolute embarrassment. I don't know what to do at this point with this team, because it's not like they're not successful. They're successful every season. But what happens when the postseason begins? What happens? I don't get it. And Dave Roberts was talking post-game like, oh, he's got to, take responsibility, and he didn't prepare these guys enough. You know what, Dave? I've heard that shit every goddamn year. Every year you say that. Oh, I didn't prepare these guys enough. Well, why not? Why not? Why are they not prepared enough? Why are they not energized enough? Why aren't they scoring runs? What happens? It's like, Camelo, you know this. Like, we've grown up as Lakers fans, right? We got to grow up with Kobe Bryant. Mm-hmm. That's the kind of dog mentality you want on a fucking team. You want a guy that goes out there and wants to kill you because he wants to win a championship. Mm-hmm. Where is that on this team? Why isn't to have an opportunity to win a World Series every year? That should be your mentality. And none of these guys have it. And it's sickening.
No,
that's what I have to say.
Well, first of all, well said. Second, Oscar Isaac called from Scenes from a Marriage Story on HBO, and he wants his look back. Just a little humor to throw that in there. But I know you could appreciate that because that was a hell of a series. No, you're absolutely correct. And that was the one thing that actually Kevin and I were talking about was the Kobe Bryants of the world, the Magic Johnsons, the Kareems, but even the Rick Foxes, the Ories, those guys had sand in their craw that the brighter the lights, the bigger the stage, the better they played. For whatever reason, with this group of Dodgers, particularly with the leadership of Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman, they're crumbling these last 2 years. They are absolutely crumbling. And when the lights are brightest and the stage is biggest, it doesn't matter that these guys are MVP finalists and that are going to be up there with Ronald Acuna Jr., maybe Matt Olson in November. It's that those guys failed when the Dodgers needed their best. And there's no excuse for that. And when you look at all these other great teams through the years, and even look at what the Phillies are doing right now, Bryce Harper and that mentality, the arrogance, the energy, the intensity, the tenacity, it's setting the tone for everyone else to feed off of. Who is that guy for the Dodgers at the top? It ain't Mookie and it ain't Freddie. And that's why I'm saying, say what you will about the Correas of the world. Say what you will about the Trevor Bauers of the world. Hell, say what you will about the Roger Clemens of the world. The one thing you can never take away from those guys, the edge, the tenacity, the meanness, and the attitude, because that resonates well in October. And you mentioned Kobe. Do you know what he always used to say about going to the Arco Arena? Those cowbells and stuff. Oh, I loved it. I relished being in that environment. Yeah. And those guys are the same way. I relish being in this environment. I want it. I want to run toward the burning building, not away from it. And too many of those Dodgers are running away from that burning building right now.
And I'll just add this. The last time the Dodgers won a full 162 World Series was obviously 1988. We all remember that. But who was that guy in the clubhouse that energized this group? It was Kirk Gibson. Yeah. It was also Tommy Lasorda, but Kirk Gibson in spring training. They talk about this story all the time. Guys were fucking around, making jokes. And Kirk Gibson went to Tommy Lasorda and says, "What is this shit? I didn't come here for this. I came here to win." That's the mentality that you need. Yeah. Tommy Lasorda too.
That's a killer mentality.
Now that's a real leader right there.
Mm-hmm. Right. That's a real leader. And I watched Blake Harris, friend of the show, posted that clubhouse speech that Tommy gave. I think it was during a spring training when Don Mattingly was still around as the manager.
Like 2014.
Yeah, something like that, right? And just hearing Tommy talk about what it means to be a Dodger. And he had this great line where he was like, you may have played for other teams and you may be in the big leagues, but when you play for the Dodgers, you're in the major leagues. And that's what Tommy was about. Tommy had that sort of instinct that the Kobe Bryants of the world had, where it was like nothing else mattered but winning and this team. Nothing else mattered. And I just don't get the sense from these guys that matters to them, because I don't see them talking to the media after this saying, holding each other accountable and being upset and pissed off that this happened. There's no anger there. There's no resiliency. It doesn't make any sense why that isn't there. I understand that a Mookie Betts is not going to be as fired up as a Bryce Harper. Those guys are two completely different personalities. But something has to change when you get to the postseason. You have to flip a switch, go to a second gear, whatever that is. I don't get it. You can feel it from the fan base. Obviously, we're all pissed off. Where's that energy from them? I don't get it. I've never understood that.
Great point. I want to get into tonight's starting pitcher. I was holding off on it till we got to about this part of the show. I'm talking about Lance Lynn. And yes, I am the idiot. I am the fool. I am the asshole who thought the Dodgers were going to sweep the series. And I'm pointing at an invisible crowd right now. But I told you, fuckface, that Lance Lynn was going to be an absolute liability in the postseason. I never liked the call. Ryan Pepiot should have been that guy from the get-go. A couple years ago, we did an apocalypse draft where I did it as a joke and a troll, but I went with it anyways, where I said I'd have Oprah Winfrey on my squad. Well, tonight, Lance Lynn was Oprah Winfrey with the amount of home runs he gave up. Perdomo, you get a home run. Marte, you get a home run. Walker, you get a home run. You get a home run. What the hell are we doing starting Lance Lynn in a do or die game? Where is the brain? Where is the spine from you, Dave Roberts? If this was Friedman's call, then what an idiotic decision. We were conned. We were all conned into thinking Lance Lynn was going to be some savior in the postseason at the trade deadline. Another colossal failure I want to get into later on. But back to Lance Lynn. After that second home run, there should have been some balls and urgency from that mother effer Dave Roberts to pull his ass and go to the bullpen right away. Bring in Ryan Pepiot. Why is Ryan Pepiot the Craig Kimbrell from 2013 just sitting there waiting in the bullpen to be summoned? He didn't pitch in this series, and he's one of the best goddamn pitchers all season long in the second half. I cannot believe the atrocity, the stubbornness to just go with the loser veteran who had a 6.50 ERA when they acquired him, and they thought, oh, this guy is going to be awesome. No, he gave up 44 home runs in the regular season for a reason, because he's a hog and he's ass, and it bit us in the ass. And I don't know why they let freaking Lance Lynn continue to pitch after he was serving up little gumdrop stupid home runs. I mean, freaking, I think it was it Moreno who hit one foul, and then on the very next pitch after they reviewed it, he had a freaking home run anyways. Fucking unbelievable.
And I'll just say this. So I'm with you. Like, you could sell me on the argument that they may or may not have gone with Pepiot to start this game, or at the very least brought him in after Lance Lynn. I'm with you on that. There's an argument to be made there. There's also an argument to be made that when Lance Lynn gave up those 2 home runs, you get him out of there. Like, that should have been it. You should have had someone warming up. They're in an elimination game. There should be someone warming up pretty much the whole time because you just never know when you've got to take a guy out. So I'm with you on that. But here's the bigger problem. They only got 4 fucking runs. And each game, the Dodgers only scored 2 runs per game.
Yep.
That's not going to win it.
Mm-hmm.
That's just not going to do it. You can't score 6 runs total in a 3-game series and expect to win the series.
No,
so
you got to score.
So to me, and they had opportunities again, late in the, I believe it was in the 7th or the 8th, when Colton Wong, a miracle, got a walk. And then you're like, during the regular season, you're thinking, great, we got a runner on base. We're down 2 runs. We've got our best hitters coming up, Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman. And what do they fucking do? Strike out, both of them. They're best friends. They do everything together. I guess they strike out together too, because that was insane. It was like they weren't even a threat. So yeah, Lance Lynn, fine. He gave up 4 home runs. That sucked, but it was early on. The bullpen held it down, and they should have been able to come back, and they just couldn't get it done. That's the bigger story here, in my opinion.
Yeah, I first of all, Lance Lynn, I don't know if you guys know this, made postseason history. No pitcher had ever given up 4 home runs in a single inning in postseason history. So it's a fitting mark for a guy that, gave up 44 home runs during the regular season. But yeah, here was the thing. I actually did not mind Lance Lynn in a hostile environment in a winner-take-all situation. And I'll tell you, I'll tell you, Kev, why he was out there over Pepio. First of all, I thought Pepio, this would have been my rotation. Miller in 1, Pepio in 2. If you're going to put rookies in a situation, put them at home in the lowest leverage situation, and then have, Kershaw would have gotten a few days off. Hopefully you're at least 1-1, where if Kershaw were to lose, you're down 2-1. Maybe the same scenario happens, but still, I didn't mind Lynn in that spot because I know he was going to own it. And actually, early on, he was sharp. He got some quick outs, got a couple of ground balls. No balls were really hit too hard. The problem was the solo home runs. And I said coming into this start, 6 innings, 2 solo home runs I could live with. Not 4 in an inning. That was the issue. That was not part of my plan. 4 in a single inning. But Jake, you were right. 4 runs for a starting pitcher in the playoffs isn't bad. Here's the catch-22. You got to score runs. And here was the other aspect. What's been the overall theme of this postseason? Scoring first, chasing starters, putting up crooked numbers so your starters don't have to feel any pressure. We saw it in the Texas series. We've seen it in this series with the Dodgers. We've seen it in the Astros series. The ability to score early and give your starting pitcher a lead is invaluable. And really only the Braves in game 2 have been able to rally back from that. So I thought the Dodger offense didn't just let him down late, like you mentioned in the 7th inning. They let him down early by not getting to Brandon Pfaadt and making him feel pressure. That was really the problem. So yeah, Lynn coughed it up. I'm not going to put everything on Lance Lynn, though. A lot of it still falls on the offense still.
You can't. You just can't. The only real game that you can put solely on the pitching would be game one because Kershaw put us out of reach before we even touched the bat.
Sure. But so for all this fire Roberts, look at Kershaw, look at Betts, look at Freeman. But go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, I think Roberts is going to get fired just as a result of trying to do something, right? It's just to try to make some kind of move that it may not be deserving. I mean, Dave's been a very successful manager as a manager of the Dodgers, but he's the common denominator, and we keep getting bounced early. Yeah. With taking out 2020, right? Mm-hmm. 2019 NLDS, 2021 we may actually made it to the NLCS, but we're not really that competitive against the Braves. No. 22 bounced in the first round. 23 bounced in the first round. Dave Roberts has been there for all of that. Mm-hmm. So, and if he's getting on the mic after the game and saying he's not preparing these guys enough, well, what the hell is that? That doesn't do anything for me. That's, that's empty talk as far as I'm concerned.
Turbo Duran's a big fan of Jake Riner right now. He's team Jake.
Nice. I love
Loving your stuff.
So what did I say, Kevin, on the last podcast about Brandon Pfaadt? We either were going to shell him or he was going to dick us down. Yeah. And he dicked us down.
Oh my God. first inning was lifeless from the
He
Dodgers.
owned us.
Jake, pitchers meet the moment in October. And if you don't believe Brandon Pfaadt, look at what Christian Javier and Jose Urquidy just did on the road in Minnesota. You want to talk about meeting the moment for two guys that struggled during the regular season? It doesn't matter what you did during the regular season. October is a different animal. And for a lot of these guys, it is a chance to turn things around and to not only physically reset, but mentally reset and be like, hey, I'm 0-0 now. I can go out and turn this whole thing around. And for a lot of these pitchers like Pfaadt, like Urquidy, like Javier, like Ranger Suarez, they've been able to do that. The Dodgers didn't.
Yeah. So they just did it. And credit to the Astros too, because they honestly, they have a full fucking roster of postseason gods. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's like every year we watch the Dodgers flounder in the postseason, and every year we watch the Astros just absolutely rake. And Christian Javier, he brought up a great point. He's an insane postseason pitcher. He was actually my pick to be the Cy Young, I think, this year, which is crazy when you look at his regular season stats. Yeah, but I had watched him in the postseason prior, and I was thinking, this guy's going to go off, but he just didn't. And then he gets to the playoffs, and he's a different fucking dude. For whatever reason, our good guys get worse.
Yeah,
they
crumble.
Okay guys get better, and their superstars rise to the occasion. Jordan Alvarez, Alex Bregman, Jose Altuve. Those guys are gods in the postseason. We can't even get one of those guys.
So meanwhile,
and we had one of them.
The Dodgers offense didn't show up. Culprit number one. Number two, the Dodgers starting pitching was an utter disaster. Culprit number two. And the shocker, the one that I thought was the wild card, was the bullpen actually stepped up. I mean, Brusdar Graterol showed the most heart out of any Dodger in that entire series. David Rosenthal is about to join us. But I wanted to just say that what really ticked me off was about halfway through the game, Lauren Shihadi read a Dave Roberts quote that I think she got from him in game, where she basically said that Dave Roberts was quoted saying they didn't want to go to Ryan Pepiot because they were saving him for game 4, and that Dave Roberts was still trying to manage the series as if they were going to get the last 3 games and win it in 5. Well, news to you, asshole. There is no game 4 if you don't win game 3. And the fact that you were hesitant to go to Ryan Pepiot in that spot right away when you needed him early on in the innings, when Lance Lynn was already giving up a couple home runs, was completely idiotic. Here's another just common denominator. Dave Roberts always looking to win these series in 5 and not that game. He doesn't treat every postseason game like it's a must-win game. He thinks too far ahead, and then by the time we get to ahead, there is no ahead because we've already been eliminated. And look who's decided to stop by. David Rosenthal has checked in. A few of you in the chat were demanding for him. Well, here he is. And thank you, Aaronetic, for letting me preach. David, feel free to just hit it off with whatever you want.
No, I mean, I eulogized us last episode. So I'm not going to be, they're not going to get that out of me. They don't deserve that out of me today. They showed no heart, no guts. One of the most gutless performances I've ever seen in the history of sports. I think I can comfortably say, just deceased in the dugout. Not one person moving around, doing anything. Will Smith was the only one I saw today who he got that hit at the last, the end of the game and tried to pump everyone up. So no, they're not even going to get me riled up today. So I'm sorry if that's what you're looking for out of me today. You're not going to get it because they don't deserve that. Pathetic performance, need changes starting from the top. I have the nuclear option on the table. I don't think anybody in the organization should be safe, but I think they need to look at this and take an autopsy of what the hell keeps going wrong in the playoffs, because this is pathetic and it's ridiculous. I mean, so someone pointed out it was like 210 wins the last 2 seasons for one playoff win. Yeah. What's the point?
211.
211 and for one playoff win. That ratio is not okay, Dave.
And clearly they didn't learn anything from last year. It's like, you know, when Peter Griffin fell down the stairs in Family Guy, he's like, Brian, help. He's like, I can't help. If I call the ambulance, you won't learn anything. That's the Dodgers. They're not learning anything. You knew you had 5 days off. You knew you were going to be playing a hot team. You knew that last year that your team came out with no urgency and that your offensive rhythm was not effective. And yet you guys seem to be the only ones struggling with that aspect of it. Like even the Braves have been able to claw out more runs. The Astros, we've already talked about them in exhaustion. And even the Orioles were able to hit better through that 3-game sweep. By the way, when was the last time 200-win teams failed to win a game in the playoffs? I think that's got to also be a first. I can't think of anyone. But the bottom line is you guys are not making adjustments. Your tenacity isn't there. Your intensity isn't there. And the second you guys hit any sort of adversity, you're crumbling. You're not rising to the occasion. You're falling apart like seriously, like a cookie dipped in milk. That's what you guys are doing. And
you want to know why I don't want to be in the same category as the Baltimore Orioles? Because they have no postseason experience. So yeah, it's not a shocker that they had 100 wins in the regular season and got swept. But guess what? The Dodgers are in the postseason every season, and we seem to be going backwards. NLCS exit, NLDS exit with one win, swept in the NLDS. Yep. Same freaking team. They move a few guys out, they bring in a few new guys, and it's the same outcome, but every time it's freaking worse. And I saw a few people bring his name up in the chat. And I think it's a good, quick topic to touch upon. And that's Clayton Kershaw, who after the game, his press conference, he said he's going to approach this offseason different than he has in years past. After what happened to Clayton Kershaw in that NLDS game, I don't know where his career's headed. I don't know if his shoulder is just barbecue pulled chicken at this point and he's able to recover.
Barbecue chicken.
It's time. Clayton, I love you. It's time to move on. It's time to part ways. This is just not working out anymore.
No.
I'm the biggest Clayton fan there is. But if he can't stay healthy and we're going to bank on Clayton Kershaw to start game ones, either we need to give that roster spot to someone that's going to stay healthy and can actually pitch in a game one for us, or we need to evaluate the situation and bring Clayton Kershaw back on a different type of structure with his understanding that he's no longer that guy, pal.
No. Here's the thing. They shouldn't have to rely on Clayton Kershaw to be their game one starter in the goddamn postseason ever again. He's earned the right to be a 3 or 4. Yep. This organization is good enough to get high-priced starting pitching and obviously develop starting pitching, which they will. You know that Pepio and Miller and Stone maybe are going to be there. Sheehan, they're going to be there next year, but they got to go out and just stock up on pitching. Just stock up on it, because every year the starting rotation just absolutely dies, either before the season, during the season, leading up to the postseason. There's always something that goes wrong. So it wasn't that out of all of the pitchers that we had, we decided, you know what, we're going to go with Clayton Kershaw in game one. We had to. We tried to put Bobby Miller out there. He wasn't ready. He just wasn't ready. Do
we think Bobby Miller would have done better if he was in game one with
no deficit? Who the fuck knows? They didn't score any runs anyway. So
doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
It's a tough call to make.
And David made this point last time. You sign Kershaw, you let him fucking retire as a Dodger. If he wants to retire now, that's one thing. But if he wants to come back, he should come back as a Dodger and reach those milestones we talked about so that we can celebrate him as a Dodger and make sure that there's enough starting pitching when the postseason comes around that you're not having to rely on a Lance Lynn in an elimination game.
I don't disagree with anything you're saying at all. But if they bring back the entire regime that we have right now, Roberts, Freeman, Mark Pryor, obviously, everyone in the coaching staff, Guerin, this is what's going to happen. Clayton Kershaw is going to have a fantastic regular first half. They're going to go all in on him again because there's just too much loyalty and allegiance, and they get blinded. They get biased. They think, yeah, Clayton Kershaw still has it. And then they don't make a move at the deadline because they're like, Clayton Kershaw will be back and we'll have him for the second half and the postseason. And then boom, we hit another spot. Oh, this guy went down. Oh, this guy is an asshole. Oh, this guy's just not ready. Clayton Kershaw, though, he's the greatest pitcher of all time. So if he's done it before, he can surely do it again. And I'm just warning you that it's just a repetitive cycle, and it's no knock on Clayton Kershaw, but we're setting ourselves up for another heartbreak. Hence why I'm just making a point. It might be better just sever ties altogether so we don't go into another Groundhog's Day.
No.
Do you know who
so
I was?
Here's what's going to happen. They're going to choke and they're going to lose anyway. So if I'm going to lose and I'm going to choke, I want it with that guy on my team. I want to see him get to 3,000 strikeouts. Do exactly what Jake said. Bolster up the starting rotation, get like 5 guys. So hopefully you don't even have to use them in the playoffs. But fuck that. They're probably going to choke anyway. So fucking bring Kershaw back, get him 3,000 strikeouts. At least I can be happy about that and not have to fucking worry about October and what they're going to do then. Mookie Betts 1 for 800 in the playoffs the last 3 years.
I think 3 for 38 actually since the 2021 NLCS, just by my math. Yeah, absolutely a disgrace. And I couldn't help but think, to quote Joe Pesci from Irishman, I still can't help but think how a guy like Walker Buehler or Julio Urias was watching these games and thinking to themselves, that should have been me out there. I should be out there setting the tone. And, we were talking about Jake and Kev and Dave. It's good to talk to you, man. I haven't seen you in a while. I wish under better circumstances. We talked about the tenacity and the intensity. Maybe Walker Buehler wasn't just a great postseason pitcher because of his talent and everything like that, but also the edge and the tenacity that he brought to the table. And same with Julio. And I think that was also missing from the team. That not only set a tone for the pitching staff, but maybe it set the tone for the entire team. And that aspect was really missing. So just a theory, but I can't imagine Walker Buehler, Dustin May, or Julio Urias watched those first couple of games and thought to themselves, damn, I should have been out there with these guys and really helping them get over this hump.
Definitely.
I mean, am I wrong?
When's the last time Dustin May even pitched in the postseason? 2020?
Yeah, 2020.
Yeah.
Good God. But yeah, Walker Buehler, I agree with Chris. I agree with the comments. He was sorely missed this season. He was sorely missed last season. Bigger loss than I think some people might realize. That was their bulldog in the postseason. The other guy that I wanted to give a shout out, first of all, I think Clayton Kershaw going in game 4 was some type of smoke screen, just given the fact that they didn't use Pepio and they were probably going to go to him. Asshole move. But how about Emmett Sheehan? That guy, he showed me a lot of tenacity, and I hope that the Dodgers utilize him more next season. He was basically sent out in a situation where he was sent out to die, first of all, but he was sent out to die in a porta potty that was smothered in shit everywhere, on fire, with cows pooping their guts out. And yet Emmett Sheehan did a fine job, in my opinion. He gave.
Hey, Kev, you're talking about Woodstock 99 or what?
I love Emmett Sheehan. That is my takeaway. That guy is a dog.
Yeah, I mean, look, the whole bullpen, right? Just an immaculate job once again. 2 years, 3 years in a row, this bullpen has been absolutely nails. Yeah. And they're the only ones that A, have shown up, and B, give a shit. I mean, we saw the way that Brusdar Graterol was on the mound. They were booing Dave Roberts when they came to lift him in game 2.
I was booing the shit out of Dave. I was screaming.
Good.
And Graterol basically said, don't do that. Start cheering for us. Get the crowd pumped up. Let's go. There's none of that in that dugout. Every time they pan to that dugout, it's like all of their families just got murdered. I mean, they just have, there's nothing there. And I don't get why there's nothing there. I just don't get it. I also don't understand this. Why in the regular season do they take at-bats? They grind at-bats. They pass the baton. They move runners over. They bunt guys over, sack flies. That was how they scored all season long. And they get to the postseason and they're having 3 pitch at-bats or first pitch pop-ups. And at no point did they ever readjust. And that to me is insane. Dave Roberts talks about not preparing these guys. What about Robert Van Scoyoc? What about the hitting coaches? Why is there no plan up there? Why isn't somebody saying with a fucking iPad, hey, look, Mookie Betts, stop swinging at the first pitch, work the goddamn count, and get your ass on base? Why does that not happen in the playoffs?
Send that launch angle asshole into the sun already.
Why does that happen in the playoffs? What got them there, they don't use. It doesn't make any sense to me. I'm at a loss for words when it comes to this stuff. It makes zero sense.
The amount of double plays we hit into this postseason felt like more than we did all regular season. It was mind-boggling.
They
Did you
hit
see the
into a
Chris
lot.
Taylor stat? He was like 3 at-bats away from setting the postseason record for most at-bats without hitting into a double play.
That's
It
an
was like
awesome
There's that.
stat.
So we
It
got
was
that
like
going for us.
400 at-bats or something.
You know, CT actually had a
player.
really, CT showed up today, and I thought CT overall had a really good season. And by the way, he had an RBI single, and I had to shout out Greg Bergman from 710. I'm like, dude, you were saying he didn't have a clutch hit all year. Clearly, you weren't watching many of the games. The guy had a walk-off hit the last 2 weeks of the season. Come on, Bergman, you're better than that, especially when you're trying to host another show called The Blue Review. But I say that to say CT is the type of guy that you like to have on your postseason roster. I mean, did we forget he hit the game-winning home run in the wild card game back in 2021? He has always shown up. He's a consummate professional. Love what he brings to the table. Yeah, the consistency isn't there like it was in 2017 through 2018, but he's still a really solid player. But the ground ball double plays, the chasing out of the zone was a problem. That was a major issue in this series.
Why is that happening?
Why is that happening? Like you were saying, Jake, you're grinding out at bats, you're taking pitches, but A, you're not finishing him off with the base hit. And then 2, you're chasing out of the zone. Like Mookie had an awful strikeout in that 7th inning after the Colton Wong walk. I mean, that you want to talk about a deflator right there. Man.
So did Freeman too.
And I would love, and here's the thing. You want to talk about accountability. I know, and people always say, well, don't throw anyone under the bus. I would say this, if I'm Andrew Friedman, when I do my exit press conference, a big reason, and I would say just like this, they were great for us in the regular season, but they were both the big reason why we lost. And if people have any problems with that, hey, tell me, the numbers speak for themselves. I'm not making this up. And if people got a problem with Andrew Friedman saying that, he could say, y'all could kiss my ass because I put this team together to win, but it's not my fault that these idiots aren't showing up when we need them to.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that he's never going to say anything like that because
of course not, because these guys lack cojones. Come on.
He's not going to throw anybody under the bus.
Except Tony Gonsolin.
And just like, I don't know. Are they too cuddled? Is it too comfortable for them? Is that the reason? I mean, we've heard every excuse under the sun. The 5-day layoff. The Astros don't seem to be fucking fazed by that. Well, it's just like I just don't understand not getting up for the playoffs.
I got
David,
2 things to say.
Hold on. All right, I want to just make one more point. David, you and I filled in to play softball for a charity event a few weeks ago, and we made it to the championship. And there was a guy that made the worst base running blunder of all time that we are still so mad about and can't get over. Why this guy who has 0 speed would try to stretch a single into a triple, and he got out and we lost. We ended up losing the game. Why are we having so much more heart and care more about a freaking charity softball game and being in the championship than these guys that play that play for actually something more?
All right, I'm cutting you off now. So Lucas and Sadie Show asked in the chat,
Kevin.
how many ballparks would that Chris Taylor flyout have been a home run in? Well, your TickPick stat is that would have been a home run in 22 of 30 ballparks. You want to talk about your Cody Bellinger World Series flyout or your Will Smith flyout? Well, here's another heartbreaker to add to a collection because Chris Taylor would have tied that game if this was being played in Dodger Stadium. So that's a bummer. 407-foot flyout. And then on top of that, I lost my train of thought. But yeah, Chris Taylor, that was just a bummer of a flyout. I'll let you go back until I recollect my thoughts.
So no, they're not trying. Like, they're obviously trying as hard as they can. It's not an effort thing. Like, I really don't think it's a desire or an effort thing. I think there's a legitimate aura around the organization that causes players who put on the jersey to be tense in the playoffs, and it causes them to forget how to do their jobs. It is a cyclical issue in the entire organization because it doesn't matter what the players has done in the past or even for the Dodgers, and then they turn to stone for the next 3 years. So there's something around this organization. Maybe it's just Dave Roberts and the expectations around him and his failures. And is he going to get fired? Is it time to fire him? Maybe it's that, but that is the issue. It's not an effort or a desire issue.
Dave, can I ask you? Hold on. I have a question. Sorry, just quick question for David. The X factor. What's missing? I can't put my finger on it. Is it grit? Is it tenacity? Is it intensity? Is it toughness? What is that missing ingredient that like a team like the Phillies or the Astros or some of these other teams have, in your opinion? Because I can't put my finger on it either.
I fucking knew.
No, but you understand what I'm talking. There's something not there.
This is where I just pinned this question out because it actually is exactly what I want to talk about, what you brought up, Chris. So from Justin Hanna, guys, thoughts on the team not having any fire for playoff baseball. So that leads me to an open discussion. Like, where do we go from here? Like, what do the Dodgers do to turn this shit around? I think it's getting rid of Dave Roberts.
I know step one, if you're not going to fire Dave Roberts, which I don't think they will, is you go into Dave Roberts' office and you say, it's either Van Scoyoc or both of you, because these hitting performances in the playoffs the past 3 years is unacceptable. So you can tell Rob to lose the key and not come back to Camelback Ranch, or you can both get the fuck out of here. That's step number one. Step number two is you fucking upheaval of the middle of this order. The middle of the order did not come through basically the whole season. If you look at the overall numbers, it worked. But if you're going to go after Ohtani, you have nowhere to put Muncy regardless. The third base experiment, bless his heart, no. That is over forever. You're asking him to play out of position for 2 positions in a row now. Second base, now third base. Unfair to do to him, but if you can't do that anymore. So that is over. Step 3, get fucking Randy Arozarena or get somebody who can fucking do something in the fucking playoffs. Go get somebody. We need a 3-hitter. If we're not going to get Ohtani, even if we get Ohtani, get them fucking both, dude. Enough of this bullshit.
Look what Bochy has done with Mitch Garver, putting him in the 3-hole. You want to talk about, pressing the right button. Mitch Garver, are you kidding me? Mashing in that 3-hole. So it can't be that hard to find a 3-hole hitter. I'm with you, Dave. You got to go out and find somebody. And by the way, third baseman who might be able to also be a solid 3-hole hitter, maybe Matt Chapman.
No. Well, only because he's a Scott Boras client and he's another choker. I don't want another choker.
I don't think that it is like an effort thing, right? I don't want people to think that I'm saying these guys aren't putting in the effort, because they are, and they're trying to win. But it just seems like there's just this lack of, I don't know. David said it's not a lack of desire, but it kind of feels that way. There's no, maybe tenacity. not desire, but there's a lack of urgency. There's a lack of fire. There's a lack of passion. And
all right, but just put it in context though. When have you ever seen a team like on the brink of elimination, like really fired up, Like that's kind of how everyone looks when they get eliminated.
2004 Red Sox.
I didn't see it in any game this year.
There was only 3 of them, and they had the lead.
I didn't see it
were down
in any game.
2 of them.
I didn't see it in any game last season in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So it's not about an elimination game that they're not getting fired up for, because it's really tough when you blow the first 2 games and you're having to play on the road and fight for your damn life on basically 2 nights in a row if they want to make it a series again. Mm-hmm. But I didn't see anything.
Yeah, I am sick of these Dodger players that drive around in their Mercedes-Benz, have their Snuggies with their hot cocoa as they watch Sex in the City and think, oh, goody, we have a game tomorrow. It's just business. Give me guys that drive fucking 1999 Honda Civics, something that they need to play for, someone that watches The Walking Dead while hammered and then goes on and watches fucking rage porn. I don't know. Give me something. Just give me some asshole out there.
Thank you. I was saying that. And by the way, one of those a-holes could have been Tommy Pham that you guys could have gotten off freaking scrap heap in New York. He wanted to be a freaking Dodger.
I'll be the first to admit I was wrong about Tommy Pham. That guy is someone we need. He will get into knife fights. I want a guy that gets into knife fights. That is badass. He didn't hit woman. He just got into knife fights. We need that.
Yeah. Yeah. You want a jerk on the field, but someone who's not going to get arrested off the field. We don't need any
of that. The problem is we don't have a leader. There's no leader on this team, period. There hasn't been a leader on this team for a while, honestly.
Well, Pham is a leader. That's why he's a great suggestion. And he hits in the postseason.
You're saying Tommy Pham is going to lead this team to a World Series?
I'm saying Tommy Pham has the right mentality that resonates well in October.
We have the stars. We need the role players now.
We've had role players. We've had fine role players before. David Peralta was pretty solid for us. Jason Hayward was solid for us. We had all these role players. It doesn't fucking matter. Look at what happened at the top of the fucking order.
I'm saying you need
25 from your 2 stars?
26.
You can't have that. You can't have that.
Dave, what I'm suggesting,
they're both quiet and they're not verbal leaders. You need a leader.
Okay. What I'm saying is you need, I think, I'm saying a guy like Tommy Pham would have helped. But what I'm saying is you need a star with the right tenacity and mentality. That's what I'm saying. And by 100%. The way, you know who showed me that back in February? That this dude wants it, is Ohtani. Now, and I'll tell you this, after they won that semifinal game, I forgot who they beat. I think it was Mexico. And he goes in there and he knew Japan was going to play the U.S. in the final. He said, this is why we came to this point. We know if we want to be the best, we got to beat the best. And that's going to be the best over there. So let's bring it in and let's take it. And what did he do? He pitched the 9th inning knowing he was going to have to face off against 3 really tough hitters. McNeil, who is the reigning batting champ at the time, Mookie Betts, and his old pal Mike Trout.
Loser sat out the last day of the season to win it.
Someone
you know what I'm saying? My point being is, hadn't pitched relief in 6 years, willing to do whatever it took to help his team win on the international level, and he did. That's the type of mentality it takes.
Well, he didn't have a Dodgers jersey on yet.
Someone in the chat said Mookie needs to interview his bat on his next podcast. but seriously though, that's so good. But seriously though, can we talk about Mookie Betts? What's going on here? What has happened here?
Jake, I got an answer for you.
This guy's supposed to be a superstar, an elite talent. And at one point, Kevin was calling him maybe the best player in baseball. What happens to him in the playoffs? 2020 notwithstanding.
I don't know.
In the rest of the years that we've had him, he's been terrible. Like,
yeah, it's a bummer.
I don't understand it. I just don't understand it.
He's just not a fighter, I guess. Pretty disappointing.
I mean, we all know he's not the same player that he was in 2020. I mean, we noticed a shift in his entire game. Like the speed completely went away and the power went up. The defense, the speed in the outfield went away. The base running went away. All of that just completely went away. So he's essentially different.
Base running seems to be irrelevant though if he's not getting on base.
Your guys' argument would hold a little bit more water if he was not an MVP finalist this year. If he batted .260 with 16 home runs, similar to like what JD Martinez did last year, I would take those arguments a little bit more seriously. For whatever reason, though, he's not going to, and I forgot who said going to the next level. He's not going to that next level in October when he needs to. He's not going to the next gear. Exactly. Yeah.
Look at his stats throughout the playoffs in 2020.
Yeah, but it felt amazing. Like you were talking about an overall regression, though, Dave. That's where I'm pushing back on a little bit because I'm not seeing that.
I'm not saying it's a regression. It's just a shift. He's going to finish second in the MVP, and he will deserve that. He had an incredible regular season, but if you look at his last 3 postseasons, he's completely disappeared.
Okay, I just want to make sure you were keeping it in the postseason realm.
In 2020, he in every from the wild card to the World Series. On defense, on offense, and on the bases. And we just haven't got that since that year. We haven't. And that'd be if he's doing what he's doing in the regular season, that's absolutely, it's more than you can ask for and beyond. But if he's going 0 for 11 in the postseason, what's the point?
So, what's kind of interesting? I don't follow the Rangers too closely, but like, who's their leader in terms of
Bochy? They have a manager.
Well, I was going to get to Bochy, but I'm talking about players.
Semien.
Marcus Semien.
Yeah.
So it's just him?
Semyon, it's I think
Adolis Garcia.
he's bringing,
Right.
I think
So
Semyon's bringing the edge, Adolis Garcia is bringing the swag, and Corey Seager is bringing the steady as she goes
The production.
approach. Yes, but
So-
here was the thing. Their foundation is the youth movement that, once again, I'm going to keep saying this term, meeting the moment. Not afraid, going out there.
Yes.
And by the way, you've also got a postseason stud by the name of Nathan Eovaldi, who I wanted this offseason. But, hey, no one listens to me. But I
Right.
tend
So
to
I
be
think you're-
right on a lot of these things. And when he's healthy, he's a stud.
Yeah, so I think you guys are helping prove my narrative because, I mean, Semyon's a good player, but he's not a superstar, and Garcia is just a really good player. Those are basically top-tier role players, and Corey Seager is their superstar, and he's not the leader. And so David said his name. Bruce Bochy is the clubhouse leader as the manager, and I think that's what the Dodgers might be lacking because the players like Mookie and Freeman, they just want to cuddle and dance with you. And Dave Roberts wants to be your best friend and sip on some wine and just gossip about who knows what. He doesn't want to make anyone upset, and he just wants to be your friend. And I think that's what's the problem, is that they get too comfortable. Anytime there's adversity, they're comfortable.
I don't know. I don't know the answer to this, but maybe you guys do. Do we know what kind of manager Bochy is like with his players? Because he's obviously not a very animated manager. He's never been.
Bochy, to me, is cut from the Phil Jackson cloth. To me,
I agree with that.
that
And
is
Madison Bumgarner was the biggest asshole out there,
yeah,
but he and Bochy got along.
yeah. Steady as she goes.
Because Bumgarner was a
manipulative,
dog in the postseason.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And so was Matt Cain and Tim Lincecum and Jonathan Sanchez and all those guys. They were all dogs. They owned it. They knew who they were. And that's how those Giants teams were built. But also, too, those Giants teams in all three of those World Series were never I want to say, except for maybe 2012, they were division champs. Outside of that, 2010, 2014, I want to say they were like wild card teams, right?
For sure, 2014.
2014 for sure.
And
I can't remember.
2012, I think, might have been wild card too.
Really?
I think
Okay.
Arizona was the division winner, one of those.
Arizona won the division in 11, I think, Kev. And I think in 2012, I think Frisco won the division because the Dodgers didn't make the playoffs that year. They missed it on like the last week of the season. That was the year that they got Beckett and Gonzalez at the August deadline.
Okay, so can I talk about a real issue that the Dodgers have?
Oh,
Yes.
yeah, go ahead.
The
I
relationship between Andrew Friedman and Scott Boris.
Contentious.
I think it's an actual problem because it's very public and open that they do not get along. They've criticized each other openly to the press. And one, it probably cost us Bryce Harper. It probably cost us Garrett Cole. And if you have one of those guys locked up for 10 years, this is, it's a completely obviously, that changes 2020 also, but I'm just saying, you're missing out on the best players in the sport because of this guy and that relationship. Like that, let's call it what it is. Throw Seager in there too.
And
Maybe you missed out on Seager.
yeah, Corey Seager.
But like, honestly, like we still got Mookie Betts and we still got Freddie
Not
Freeman.
Boris. Not Boris.
No,
I
Boris Clemens, yeah.
I know that, but in terms of top tier talent, I mean, those guys are as good as anybody.
In the regular season, they are, yeah.
Well, Freddie Freeman's actually been a pretty decent postseason hitter in his career. And he was actually not terrible. He was actually one of the only guys last season that was actually hitting the ball. And I think he hit over 300. And for whatever reason, this year it was just like it was as if he went up there without a bat.
Well,
Yeah,
he was
he
talking
Betts.
about his swing being broken, which is convenient timing.
Yeah, great timing, bud.
Really,
Thanks for,
really
you know,
awesome timing, dude.
Yeah, just really great timing.
Yeah,
You know, for both of them, it's one thing if one
Does
of
that
them
ever happen to anybody else? I've never heard of that happening to a non-Dodger ever. Like, oh, yep, my swing, it just broke right before the playoffs. It's just gone.
A-Rod?
Ridiculous.
A-Rod in the Yankee years.
Well, I think
A-Rod
that was
just
more,
probably need a refill
I think
on
that was
steroids.
more up here.
But yeah, A-Rod was another choker who had excuses. Probably just ran out of steroids. I don't know how much longer you guys want to be on this chat. Probably maybe 10, 15 minutes top. So appreciate everyone here watching. So if you want to get your questions in right now, I'll try to do a rapid fire. There's the last thing I really want to speak about is still more Andrew Freeman and how I was just disappointed overall with this trade deadline. Two of his acquisitions, Ryan Yarbrough and Ahmed Rosario, didn't even make the postseason roster. So what's the point of trading for guys if you don't trust them in the playoffs? I said Colton Wong was going to make it over Ahmed Rosario. I was not advocating for Wong over Rosario as a better player. I'm actually more ticked off they didn't give Michael Busch more at bats. Why do we just sell Michael Busch off to the Wolves and play Colton Wong, who should be working at a Jack in the Box because he got DFA'd twice, hit like 150, and we just decided to give him a job because we wanted to make a kid happy? No, fuck that. If they do this bullshit again, and this is where I feel like Andrew Freeman is starting to con us, because last season he acted like Joey Gallo was the big bat that we acquired. We were going to fix him. Oh yeah. Fuck you. That didn't work out. We wanted to have his sorry ass on our playoff roster. And then this season, I'm sorry, David, but he tried to trick us again with Lance Lynn, and Lance Lynn had a 6.50 ERA when they acquired him. He was much better for the Dodgers, but he still was giving up home runs like crazy. And then they just fool us into thinking he's going to pitch a big game for us tonight. And he didn't. They didn't go out and get the big name like they should have gotten with Justin Verlander. And I don't want to hear about the whole, Justin Verlander wanted to go to the Astros. No, that is just some media bullshit to make you feel all warm and fuzzy inside. Andrew Freeman let the Astros get into it because I was following this trade deadline like crazy. There were a few days in a row where it was just the Dodgers and the Mets working out a deal, and the Dodgers didn't want to give up whatever the Mets were asking. And then all of a sudden the Astros went from, oh yeah, we're not interested. Oh, we can get him for that fucking cheap. Okay, let's do it. Verlander to the Mets, or Verlander from the Mets to the Astros. Fuck you, Dodgers, for not wanting to negotiate with us. Andrew Freeman does this time after time after time where he wants to hoard his prospects, and then he just hoards his prospects till they become 30-year-old, middle-aged, useless, wannabe baseball players. Something needs to change.
I mean, the problem is he's putting Austin Barnes and Colton Wong back-to-back games in the biggest at-bats of the respective games. What the fuck are you doing? Those are the two last people on the roster I want up in that situation. Mm-hmm. I would legitimately rather have Clayton Kershaw hit than Austin Barnes in that situation. How do you let...
Actually, not a bad idea.
Yeah. How do you let this organization with this payroll do that? You did it in 2021 also. You sent the ghost of Steven Souza, end-of-life care Steven Souza, up to the plate instead of Gavin Lux in 2021. You probably did the same shit in 2022. I'm just forgetting, but you definitely did. And then again, like what Kevin just said, why not Busch there? Why not Outman? Why not Peralta? Why not the guys who've been starting and playing generally pretty well for the whole year? Not Austin Barnes, statistically the worst player in baseball, bottom three, or Colton Wong, the guy you just found on the street a couple weeks ago. It's mind-blowing. It's mind-numbing. They've been doing it for three years in a row now, and it's Friedman and Roberts. It's not just Roberts. It's Friedman too. It's
a failure to it's sticking too much to your principles. But once again, Dave, this is what I was saying on other platforms as well. The catch-22 of it. Your greatest strength that led you to 100 wins could also be your biggest weakness that leads to a 3-game sweep. The failure to make adjustments. And this is a reason why the Milwaukee Bucks fired a good championship coach in Mike Budenholzer. It was the same thing. Failure to make adjustments. That's why guys get fired sometimes. Either their voice grows stale with the players, or, what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again, thinking you're going to get a different result. And I think we've kind of seen that. I don't think in Dave's case, it's the latter, not the former. And I think that's a major, major issue. And I agree with you. But outside of those two components, that wasn't the sole reason why they lost this series. They lost this series because a lot of their guys failed to produce in big spots, especially your big money.
All of them.
No, I mean, not even just in big spots, just failed to produce at all.
Exactly. But I'm talking, I am holding the stars to a higher standard because that's what you pay them to do. And that's why I'm saying this series to me falls on Roberts, but not as much as in years past. It falls more on Mookie, Freddie, Kershaw. I think those guys deserve the lion's share of the blame pie. I mean, tell me if I'm wrong on that.
No, you're 100% right. You're 100% right. We got nothing from those guys.
Yeah. We got
1,000%
way
right.
worse than nothing. I wish we got nothing from those guys.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely.
All
And
right,
by the way, and I will give Dave credit for one thing. He managed that I was wrong about pulling Bobby Miller as quickly as he did. I was a little upset about that, but he managed the bullpen beautifully in game 2 and tonight.
He did.
He gave him a shot to win, and they couldn't.
Yeah.
They just couldn't score.
I want to
Austin
spotlight
Barnes
a
and
question
Colton
from
Wong
our.
is fireable.
I want to spotlight a question from our graphic designer Alberto Amazola Jr. because he's been hanging around all night. Do the Dodgers finally fucking stop hogging prospects and just go balls to the walls?
I hope so.
I hope so, and I think we got to stop acting like this poverty franchise. We got to stop acting like we don't have money to do stuff. Like that's what leads to the Steven Souzas and the Joey Gallos and the Colton Wongs of the world getting at bats in the biggest spots that we need them to come through, and they just don't because they're just not a caliber of player that they should be seeking. So I do hope so that they get rid of some of these prospects because not all of these guys are going to play. And also just find out which ones you want. You know, do you want to go all in on Will Smith? Do you want to keep him around for the rest of time? Do you believe in Diego Cartaya? If you don't, get him out of here. Do you believe in Dalton Rushing? If you don't, get him out of here. I mean, you got to figure out which guys you're going to choose and then go out and get some players that are going to be good players for the long haul and that can play in October.
A Rosarena. We're just going to be
By
all
the
in
way,
on Rosarena and Otani.
I forgot to mention another guy that the Dodgers had, and he helped get them to 2 World Series was Yasiel Puig. Say what you want about Yasiel Puig. He never feared October. He had some great, outside of maybe 2014, he had some really good years in October. 2016, 17,
great in
and
the
18.
postseason.
Dude, if
Always
you
good
if
in the
you get a
postseason.
Rosarena and Otani in this lineup, it's loser proof in the playoffs, in my opinion. I think it's actually loser proof.
I got the pitching figured out as well, but
but offensively, I think there's no way they can choke that bad. There's just no way.
Loser
what do you guys think next year? Are Max Muncy and Will Smith on this roster?
Will Smith, yes. Muncy, legitimate question mark.
I agree.
That hurts me.
You can't trade Smith because Cartaya might be a bust, and Dalton Rushing has only played at level A, and so it's unrealistic. Go ahead, Chris.
Oh, no. Finish your comment. I have a theory about Muncy, and it has to relate to JD Martinez, but go ahead.
I was just going to say unrelated, but it's going to be really hard for me to be motivated to pay the $30 to park at Dodger Stadium, sit in traffic for 2 hours, pay for the $50 beer, pay for the $20 Dodger dogs. Like, unless they do something to shake it up and prove that they actually want to win in October, because that's all I care about at this point. That's all I care about every season. Like, they're on the verge of losing some of my money as a Dodgers fan. I'm just going to say that right now.
Will Smith is definitely back on the roster. I thought he struggled in the second half. It happens, right? Muncy, legitimate question mark. You're right, Dave, but it's going to be related to what happens with JD Martinez. If Martinez is gone, they could have Muncy slide into that DH spot, right? And then
that's assuming they don't get Otani, right?
Yeah,
right.
That's a downgrade. We're getting worse if that happens.
It depends on who you get at third base.
That's unacceptable to me.
No, hold on. That depends on who you get at third base. That depends on who you get at third base.
Yeah, who is it?
I'd have to look at the available free agents and what
I don't think there's anybody.
They
Matt
decide
Chapman, no.
So do you call Mozeliak? Hold on. Do you call John Mozeliak back about Nolan Arenado now that he'll have 3 years?
A choker in the playoffs too. He looks like he'd choke in a Dodgers uniform. He'd look really good in a Dodgers uniform, going like 1 for 12 in the NLCS.
Oh God.
Well, okay, then who do you guys want that's actually attainable? I threw out Chapman. You guys shat on that. I throw out another name.
Third baseman,
Otani, bro.
No,
give him.
Otani can't play
third,
Dave. I'm talking about who's going to play third.
Our third baseman.
I don't know, but if
it's going to be Miguel Vargas.
Otani,
it's going to be Miguel
Vargas.
That guy.
Or Bush. Bush actually looked all right.
Someone just said that I'm a poor man's Will Ferrell.
Oh, you're a poor man's Oscar Isaac from Scenes of a Marriage.
I guess I'm just a poor man's whatever. Fine, fuck it.
Gosh, hey, it's better than me being a poor man's Jason Biggs from American Pie.
I've never gotten
Michael Garcia. What are we in 2014? Come on, Michael Carrillo.
Another thing I'm also done with is platoons. Like, why are we just platooning 2 minor league minimum veterans the entire year? Go get an everyday left fielder. What is this?
Yeah.
Go get somebody who can play every day. Enough of these handouts. What are we doing?
It'd be nice if Chris Taylor could take over an everyday role.
No, he is solidified on the bench. He should be solidified on the bench. 100%.
Two more expensive years though, Dave, on that contract, guaranteed. I think.
Yeah,
I don't think that fourth year is an option.
I'm done caring about their payroll. They can literally fucking eat a dick at this point. Go over the luxury tax until you win another World Series.
That wasn't my point, but go ahead.
Well, I'm just saying that's fine. That's fine in modern day baseball for a bench utility player. Sure.
Okay.
I think that the Dodgers did a good job overall of trying to reduce platooning this season. It just happened to work itself out that Jason Hayward emerged from the shadows and forced himself into the Dodgers lineup. And so you can't really bench him if he's hitting like lights out in the regular season. Obviously didn't pan out in the regular season, but that was what the Dodgers were trying to do this past offseason, was to attempt to reset the luxury tax. So they signed a lot of lower fringe guys like the David Peraltas and Jason Hayward's, and they kind of worked out in the regular season. JD Martinez batted every day, so there's a signing. I mean, the only really 2 platoon guys ended up being Peralta and Hayward, and that's average in my opinion. Everyone else started every day.
Exactly.
Once they got rid of that,
I don't know what you do though. If you do go out and get Ohtani, I don't know what you do with JD Martinez. Do you keep him around? I mean, that's
gone.
And that's tough too, because I love JD. I thought he was
No, it's
awesome.
not. If you get Ohtani, it's not tough at all.
Jake,
au revoir.
Someone's going to give JD a 2-year, probably $35 to $40 million deal. That's how good he was this year, and in a smaller sample size.
It's just tough. It's tough because he's a guy that can perform in the postseason.
Sure, absolutely.
JT3, who's that?
He hit the only home run.
Yeah,
that we had, which is crazy.
Yeah, no, I wish he would lay off sliders down and away, but I mean, outside of that, he was really good. Let me just say one thing. First of all, I love being on this show. Thank you so much, Kev, for always having me on. Dave, Jake, I always a pleasure to have you, to be on here with you guys and share thoughts, and you guys give me the platform and everything like that. So I'm more than appreciative and grateful for this. 200 wins amidst a shit ton of adversity this year. That says something. When you have players like Chris Martin thanking the Dodger organization for saving his career, that says something about the culture. So yes, the greatest strength can also be the biggest weakness. We got to be careful with this aspect of the knee-jerk reaction. Oh, blow it up. Do this, do that. Let's see how we can get better to add the right mix in order to get to that next level. And I think a lot of it is here. It's not talent. It's here. There's something not right here. And I don't know if you mentioned it earlier, Dave. I thought it was a great point. The aura where guys tense up and they feel the pressure from the fans, from the media, from their own expectations, worried about their next contract, could be all of that. But that's something that has to be worked out, I think, internally. Because I don't know, short of doing a mass haul, which we know is not going to happen, let's be honest. Maybe Roberts gets fired, but who are you going to bring in? Girardi? John Farrell? Buck Showalter? Gabe Kapler?
Loser.
You going to talk Socha out of retirement when his last 6 years?
Yes.
When his last 6 years were not good in Anaheim? And yeah. So my point is, there are no easy solutions to any of this. Even Dave, we couldn't even figure out who could be third base next year. So if we can't figure out something like that, how are we going to figure out how this team is going to win in October?
Craig Counsell. I will die on that hill.
So that's my point. Let's see if we could try to change the mindset, because that could be the difference between winning again and getting deeper into the playoffs, or continuing this early 2000s Braves trend of getting bounced by a different team in the NLDS, a la Bobby Cox.
I want Craig Counsell as the manager. I want Chase Utley as the bench coach. I want Mark Pryor as our pitching coach, obviously. And for our hitting coach,
Justin Turner.
We'll have an assemble of Justin Turner, Adrian Gonzalez, Andre Ethier, and
were
Matt
you just
Kemp.
pushing JT into retirement? He had a fucking phenomenal year. He can play third for us.
He'll come back. He can be
He's
a player
closer
manager.
to playing third for us.
How
than
about
coaching.
this? JT is a player manager.
I'll take that, actually.
I would take that. That would be kind of hype.
Yeah.
Player manager.
But you know, here's the thing though, is like when the Dodgers made their World Series run in 2017, this was not a culture at that point where these guys were making deep runs in the postseason. There was a lot of NLDS bounces, a few NLCS bounces with Mattingly and with Dave Roberts, but 2017 was the first year that they made a really deep postseason run. And then 2018, they made a really deep postseason run. And then they started to get a little cocky. And I just feel like that sense of urgency, that sort of young grit, Kike Hernandez, Jock Peterson, those guys were what carried those teams through the playoffs, because there wasn't this expectation of this team needs to win a World Series or bust.
Right.
But after they made the World Series 2 years in a row, that's when that started. Because in 2019, they couldn't make it out of the NLDS. Yeah. And they actually played fairly decently in that series. And that was one of the series that Dave Roberts kind of lost for them in a big way.
Along with Kershaw. Yeah. Along with Kershaw.
We should get Davey Martinez.
And we also talked about it too. And I'm including 2020, even though they were able to overcome it, they looked dead in the NLCS in 2020. They really had to get themselves off the mat to win that series and then go on and win the World Series. And by the way, that World Series was tough as well. Yeah. It went 6 games. So
COVID and everything.
From that point forward, from the 2019 season, we've sort of seen this sort of expectation of like, oh, well, they've got to make the World Series, because if they don't make the World Series and if they don't win it, then it's an absolute failure. So yes, I get the pressure of that. I get all the pressure of that. But for every single season from 2019, excluding 2020, from 2019, 21, 22, 23, it's the same shit with this offense. I don't get that. I don't understand it. I understand the pressure, but I don't understand how they just forget how to hit. It's mind-blowing to me.
They got to stop winning 100 games.
So now we're at the point where it's World Series or bust, and we've got all this high-priced talent with Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman. I think what Kevin was saying earlier in the last podcast is we need to go back to that 2017 mold and try and get guys that are young, controllable talent that are hungry and that are gritty, and not these sort of old veterans that just can't do it anymore.
So Randy, we're back to Randy.
We'll get Randy. And yeah, I mean,
Randy.
Randy will be our Puig replacement. So there you go. That fits 2017 very nicely. We'll skip the Logan Forsythe part. We can forget that, but we need to find a shortstop that can hit. There's obviously Gavin Lux could be that guy, but he needs to be healthy. I need to see it to believe it, but we'll assume Lux is in the mix somewhere in the infield. And then, we got to figure out third base. I mean,
we need a left fielder. I'm telling you, we need a left fielder.
Randy.
Someone in the chat actually suggested that David Rosenthal be the left fielder.
Oh, yeah. Well, if I am a left-handed hitter, so maybe Dave will put me up in the most important situation just because there's a righty pitching.
Can you imagine? That would be so fucking.
I can imagine it. I just watched it tonight.
I don't know his contract situation.
Even Austin Barnes had comparable stats this year.
John says, "What is Will Ferrell talking about?"
What do you guys think of Hassan?
Will Ferrell thing? I don't understand what that. Do you guys get that?
No.
What do you guys think of Hassan Kim? I don't know if he's available, but that'd be capable clutch hitter, third baseman.
I don't think he's available.
Is he clutch though?
Yeah, he is.
Pretty clutch against the Dodgers.
And he was for the Padres this year during that sleepy offense.
I'm sorry. You know what? After these last 3 years, I can't get excited about Ha-Seong Kim. I can't. Sorry. No.
Has any of my ideas gone
It's
anywhere?
not a bad idea. I'm not going to personally get excited about it. If he's the opening day third baseman, go get him.
You guys shot down on social media my Nathan Eovaldi idea too, and look how that's going for Texas.
I didn't. I like Nathan Eovaldi. I thought he would have been a great addition.
I like his health.
I'll be honest. I was always scared of Nathan Eovaldi because he can't stay healthy. I think he's one of the few guys that's had 2 Tommy Johns.
Yeah,
and he'd be great for the Dodgers if we already weren't stacked with a bunch of injury prone pitchers.
Of course. And Chris Young had to eat some stuff this year. He had to eat the Jacob deGrom situation. He had to eat the Max Scherzer situation. And he almost had to eat the Nathan Eovaldi thing. But that game 3 start that he had, plus what he did against Tampa, that shows you why he was worth it. Not to mention, who the hell would have thought that Jordan Montgomery would have been the second coming to Andy Pettitte? My goodness, that dude has been fantastic for them.
All right, he hasn't been that great. He's been okay. He's had an offense
okay is what
that's
we
played
need.
well for him.
Also, we need okay.
Isn't Scherzer supposed to come back in the ALCS?
I don't know. He's blaming Bruce Bochy for more arm fatigue.
Store labia.
Sean says the Dodgers need Evan Longoria. Would have totally been on board 3 years ago, but I think that ship has sailed.
Yeah.
He's like the one Dback that actually didn't do anything against us.
No.
Except for game 1.
If they don't sign Ohtani this offseason, the offseason is a failure.
Even if they get Snell?
Yes. No.
I don't want
Snell. I don't want Snell.
Of course you guys don't.
Pitches 5 innings.
Of course you guys don't.
He pitches 5 innings.
Snell is that guy that once he gets paid, he's going to turn into Patrick Corbin. I'm
100%.
just telling you.
Couldn't agree more.
Or Robbie Ray.
Or Robbie.
Phenomenal call.
Yeah,
Phenomenal
Robbie Ray's
call.
working out great this season. What do
He
you
is
pitch
he's
one
going to be
inning?
the Anthony Rendon of pitchers.
Okay, come on. Anthony Rendon's got no heart. Snell cares. Snell actually
he
wants to be
care?
great. Yeah, he kind of does, I think.
Cares a hell of a lot more than Anthony Rendon.
That's fair, but
Snell
everybody
is a-
does.
Snell
No
is a
habla
gamer.
English today.
I'll give him that. Snell is a gamer, but I don't want him.
Of course you don't.
No, I'd rather have Yamamoto. 100%.
You guys, I'm throwing out
Hey.
ideas. All I'm hearing is Otani, and that's it. That's all I'm hearing.
So for
No,
me,
Randy,
it's not.
have you not been listening? We
Okay,
need
Randy
Rosarena.
Rosarena. Yeah,
We're
I'm
not
gonna-
asking at this point.
If
okay.
they don't get Ohtani, I'm not going to call the offseason a failure, but it all hinges on what they do. This past offseason, I don't remember who people wanted. I guess Aaron Judge or Carlos Correa or to re-sign Trey Turner. I was okay with not getting none of those guys. I thought their offseason was fine, and it correlated to a 100-win team. It just went to shit the last 3 games.
And this is what happens in a knee-jerk reaction. They are good in a large sample size. They are bad in a small sample size. And by the way, you know what that's almost also reminiscent of? I know I've mentioned the Braves a few times of the 90s and 2000s. That was also a problem with the A's in the early 2000s. They were very good in the regular season, but in a small sample size. And also in the mid 2000s, like the 2012, 2013 time with, guys like Sonny Gray. And I think, I forgot who their manager was. I think Bob Melvin was still there. They were never good. And this is the problem sometimes when you lean on the analytics and the sabermetrics. It does not play well in October.
All right, we got to get out of here soon. But Chris, I'll ask you. Anna Pineda wants to know: should we go for Juan Soto?
That would have to be a trade.
That would never happen.
Yeah, nah. Too
Well,
inconsistent and
They
a bad
did. They
fielder.
did accept
wouldn't
Matt
trade
Beatty
those.
for River Ryan.
But I do like the tenacity though of Juan Soto. That plays in October.
That would be weird to trade him in the division.
Yeah, it would be.
Yeah, and they
Remember
won't
when
do
insane.
we traded Matt Kemp for Grandal and some other scrap heaps?
Yeah, but that was when the Padres weren't even relevant.
And I think that was part of
Tried
a
to be
3-team,
relevant.
and that was a part of a 3-team deal, I think, wasn't it?
I don't think
Yeah,
so.
that
I
was
think
that.
it
That was that offseason. The Padres went
Honestly, like I'm looking at the free agent class right now. It is disgusting after Ohtani. Like one of the worst you've ever seen.
Throw out some
So-
names.
Snell.
Stroman, I guess. Baez if he opts out. Votto, Hyunjin, our old friend. Chuck Morton,
Yeah, Erod's
Club
gonna be a
option.
free agent.
Martin Perez, Jock, Grandal, Conforto, Hendricks, club option, Wainwright retired, Bellinger, Longo, Josh Bell, Hader, Mark
Josh Hader.
Canna, if you're into that.
Josh
Who?
Hader would be so expensive though.
Yeah.
If you have a mediocre fetish, Mark Canna is available.
No, please. Oh my God. That is an 0 for 15 in the postseason waiting to happen for us if we get Mark Canna.
Or like 2 for
Yep.
4, 2 singles, like in a blowout game. That
He doesn't
It's-
move the needle.
it's gonna be a weird off season, but also to the expanded
Sonny Gray.
format.
I'd take Sonny Gray.
Sonny
Ugh,
Gray was
after
good,
his
yeah.
last blow up against Houston, pass.
Of course
I would have
of
taken
course you
that.
will.
Gray's awesome.
I would have taken that in this
Sonny
series.
Gray is a great regular season pitcher, but look at how he does in the big markets or under pressure. Another choker. I'm good.
You know what? None of it fucking matters anyway.
Yeah, I mean,
It matters. Where's John Lackey 2.0? Where is that guy? Where's Josh Beckett 2.0? Where's that guy?
well, Walker Buehler was that guy. And then he died for our sins of not having enough starting pitching.
You could use one more established peak pitcher, even with Bueller coming back, Bobby Miller developing, Pepio, Sheehan. You need one more.
Corbin Burns. We're going to trade for Corbin Burns. I'm calling it now. He's going to be on the market. Let's go after Corbin Burns.
Yeah, he is going to be on the market, I think.
But even he
yeah,
got
but
his ass
by
kicked.
your standard, he got hit around by the D-backs.
Yeah.
He did. But fuck it at this point.
Yeah, I guess.
desperate.
I mean,
We need pitching.
yeah.
Who
You still got to
replaces
try, you know? Like,
Question.
you got to try.
who replaces
All right,
Dave?
let's wrap this up.
Who
Yeah.
replaces Dave Roberts then? Many names.
Craig Counsell. I'm
Just
dying
give me
on that
some
hill.
old school guy who hates analytics, who just has to butt heads with Friedman, who has a feel for the game,
Mike
not
Scioscia.
just gonna pinch hit Colton Wong or Austin Barnes.
I think
in the
you
most
just
critical
described
situation ever.
I think you just described Don Mattingly.
No, not that asshole. Give me Mike Scioscia. Give me someone old but like
We're
kind of
not
good.
signing Mike Scioscia.
Give me Larry Boa's crazy ass.
Is he still alive?
I think
yeah,
so.
I
Still. Yeah,
think
he's
so.
alive.
No, I don't want these old farts. Why would we go after the manager
How
that
about
couldn't
Bob
win
Brenly? Should
with
we
Mike
bring
Trout?
Bob Brenly out of retirement?
Bob Brenly.
That would
You know,
yeah, he's in the D-backs broadcast.
Yeah,
booth,
he won
I
a
think.
World Series.
yeah.
did 22 years ago.
Oh, someone said Lou Piniella. That would be awesome.
Yes,
Yeah,
so on board. I would be so
Yeah,
down for that.
another choker.
Jake,
Remember when he got swept by the Dodgers? Go ahead. Chris.
remember when he got picked off? Remember when he put up his hat? What the hell was that? In
Yeah,
Little
can
Big
Can you
League?
imagine Lou Piniella? Can you
Little
imagine
Big
Lou
League, yeah.
Piniella if these guys tried to do the Freddie dance?
Oh my God.
Bring back Joe Torre. You know what? Screw
No,
it.
no,
I'm
no,
not
no,
saying
no.
Joe
Too
Torre,
old, too
winner.
old, too bad. Way too old.
Good.
No.
Oh, Lou
like,
Brown. Let's get Lou Brown in here.
We're contenders now.
Right. I gonna
Joe-
team Charlie.
Joe Torre is
I
the
get it,
best
team.
manager I've ever had it as a Dodgers fan in my lifetime because I didn't get to really have Lasorda.
Benji Gill would actually be a really good one.
That's
A
not
couple
bad.
people in the chat said that.
Hey,
Isn't
you
he
know,
from the
Jake.
Angels,
Jake, you know what I
Yeah,
don't
he
like
was
about some of
Mexico's manager.
but isn't he like Angels during the regular season?
Oh yeah, Benji Gill. Yeah, no, he's good. I think he'll get a major league position. But I wanted to see Lou Brown actually do a post game scrum in major league. I
Yeah.
bet it sounded like Taylor's hitting the ball pretty good of late. You know, we're trying to get him going again, and he's still not having an easy time making the
All
throw from second.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Congressman Steve Garvey. That's a good one, Boomer Assassin.
Steve Carr.
All right,
Oh,
guys.
Senator.
Convince Terry Francona to not retire.
It's time to close it up. Give me your final thoughts. Ben Verlander, according to Anna Pineda.
My final thought, through all the anger and all the frustration and all of that, I'm just sad. Like, it's just sad that we have to sit here again and talk about another postseason exit too early. And it's not like, it'd be one thing if the postseason exit was like a grind, right? And they really just put in all their sweat and tears and their blood and all of that stuff. And they just got beat, but they weren't even competitive at any point during this series or last year, minus the one game that they won. It just wasn't competitive. And I would argue that they were actually a little bit more competitive last year than this year, but this year was just
for sure
just
now.
not even competitive at all. And that's the part that's really sad, because it's sad that we can't keep watching this team succeed. And one of these just insanely talented rosters just goes home again. It's just sad. And I think that's really what I'll be sitting with all of tomorrow.
I'm done watching baseball this season.
Anybody else have final thoughts, or is it just me?
Go ahead, Chris.
I'll go last.
October is a different animal. And unlike most sports, it's very difficult, like in a sport like football or basketball, where usually the best teams, minus the year maybe that the Bengals went into the Super Bowl and got past the Chiefs and the Bills in the same postseason, most of the time the one or the two is going to get there. Same in basketball, right? But with the exception of last year's Miami Heat. In baseball, it is a different animal. And it's not about exactly what you did to get there. It's about what you do once you are there, how you're playing, how your confidence is, and the urgency and the tenacity that you play with that's going to resonate with everybody else. Because if you come in, especially in a short series, in a 5-game series, hell, even in a 7-game series, your margin for error is not exactly there, but you at least have a little bit more time to get into your rhythm. If you don't come ready to play, even against a team that won 82 games, 83 games, you're going to get your lights turned out. So if they are in this situation again, and you don't come out with a little bit of sand in your craw, and you come out, oh yeah, no, you're going to go down again. So something needs to change. Mindset, maybe it's a personnel issue, manager problem. I don't know. Time will tell to see what happens. But there is something wrong with how they're responding to this new format these last couple of years. And I think it is an arrogance. I think it is we'll be all right, and it's not going to be all right. And that urgency and that adrenaline, that intensity really plays well in October. And you're seeing it with the Phillies, and you're seeing it with the Astros, and you're seeing it with a few other teams, but you're not seeing it with this Dodger team. And I, like I said before, you got to meet the moment, run toward the burning building, not away from it. That was the problem.
Yeah, I mean, I already said everything I needed to say on the last episode when I was yelling and going crazy and everything, but another failure. They just completely choked again. They have done everything to deserve the loser choker reputation. It's going to follow them, and I do think they need to make major changes. What that looks like, I don't know, but you can't keep doing what you're doing right now. Something is not clicking, and you need to make a change at the top somewhere. I don't know if that's just the hitting coach, but that is at a minimum. That guy has got to be out of town at an absolute minimum. And again, if you don't sign Shohei Ohtani, you failed again.
Final thoughts are on October 13th. I hope to get an announcement that the Dodgers and Dave Roberts have parted ways. I don't care if Dave Roberts gets hired right away. Let's not forget that this was just a first base coach with the Padres. It's not like he was that great of a proven commodity to begin with, and he kind of was thrown into a lucky situation. To me, he's a glorified Don Mattingly. Don Mattingly didn't have the bullpen. Don Mattingly was stuck with a bunch of washed nobodies like Carl Crawford and Josh Beckett and Homer Bailey, just a bunch of dead payroll. Here we are with Dave Roberts with some of the best rosters assembled of all time. And year after year, we are the Atlanta Braves now. We get bounced in the first round. We have one freaking ring to show for it. That's not enough. It's just not enough. I'm boycotting Dodger dogs until we do something different. I'm done giving them all my money. You can fucking forget about me going at spring training if this is the same core we're bringing back next season. I'm just done with this repetitive circle. And I'll leave it at that. So again, thank you all here in the chat for chatting along. I can't wait to go back and just read along with all these comments tomorrow. You guys were on fire tonight. If you haven't already, make sure you're subscribing. We'll have the audio feed up as well. If you missed anything, or you can watch the YouTube video back, be a subscriber, hit the like button. This is Kevin Klein. We've got Chris Camello, Jake Riner, David Rosenthal here to just kind of calm your feelings as another miserable Dodgers season is in the books. God damn, what a disappointment. 0 playoff wins to show for it. And that's how I'm going to have to remember 2023. We won 162 in the regular season and 0-3 when it actually mattered in the playoffs. So burn it to the ground. Forget this season. It was fun while it lasted. But yeah, JD Martinez, enjoy Miami. Jason Hayward, maybe you're coming back. Maybe you're retiring. David Peralta, enjoy Japan. And Max Muncy, we're trading you to St. Louis. Maybe we'll get Nolan Arenado. And then on the free agent front, Tony Gonsolin, you might get cut. Trade. You might get cut because you can't pitch anymore. And Dave Roberts hates you for some reason. Gavin Lux, hopefully you're back and you learn how to run the base paths this go around this season. Mookie Betts, stop doing the podcast. Maybe focus on the postseason this time. Freddie Freeman, learn how to dance. I'm fucking just fed up with these losers. Bunch of chokers.
Stop dancing. Please stop dancing.
Yeah, like David said. Learn how to hit.
Contenders now.
Who else do I need to blast real quick? I feel like I'm forgetting someone.
Lance Lynn.
Bullpen. Yeah,
Robert Van
cut his
Scoyoc.
ass. I can't wait for them to decline his ass. He's not coming back. Oprah Winfrey over there giving up home runs to every player possible. And yeah, the hitting coach, fire Rob Van Scoyoc into the sun. Dave Roberts, you can manage the Angels next season. You won't have Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani to bail you up this time, Sonny. I think that's it. I got no one on the bullpen I have grievances with. Oh, Mid-City Grove, you're gone. You're out of here, Michael Grove. Fuck that.
No, I'd like to see him in the bullpen next year.
Yeah.
I'd like to get him a shot.
I don't think there's room.
There's room.
Trade us Candias.
No, we got tons of losers on this team. Trust me, there's room.
If they're gonna keep Michael Grove and then use that as an excuse to let Ryan Brazier walk, god damn it, these assholes got me again. Andrew
No, they got to
Freeman.
keep that bullpen intact. That's the one unit they need to keep.
Yeah. We've got guys like JP Fireisen who's going to be healthy, so they say.
Yeah, no
Maybe
more
they'll bring back
reclamation projects.
Daniel
give me
Hudson.
Ohtani, give me Randy or Riner, fuck all the way off.
Daniel Hudson
How
tore
about that?
both his knees, so he can't tear a third knee. Maybe he can pitch for us this season. Bring back Blake Triner on a minor's contract. All right, we're out of here. Everyone, thank you so much for following along for the Incline Dodgers podcast. That concludes 2023. I don't know when we'll be back, but you'll hear from us sooner